Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I want to talk a little bit more about how to write introduction paragraphs for the research proposal assignment. So, the first thing is that you have to write an engaging introductory statement, something that's an attention grabber to pull your reader in. Again, it could be something along the lines of a anecdotal introductory statement. It could be a rhetorical question, or like most nerdy professors, we probably would really appreciate a historical or data-driven introductory statement. We like facts. And so wanting to convince your audience that you are ready to write on a topic because you've done the research, one of the things to do is show that you've looked at the history of the thing, right? So again, the historical introductory statement is a great idea. But all three of those will work. Of course, you want to definitely play to your strengths. So if you like telling stories, if you're creative, you want to try maybe the anecdotal introduction. If you're thoughtful and like to kind of bounce ideas off of yourself, then maybe you want to look at the rhetorical question. And if you just kind of want to deal in the facts and something that you can prove right away and get your introductory statement done quickly, I highly suggest the historical or factual data introductory statement idea. If you're not completely sure about how to write one of those, just look at the previous video where we talk about, or where I talk about introductory statements. Okay, I want to talk about the next part of the introduction paragraph. So once you write an engaging introductory statement, you then need to move into a bridge, right? So the bridge part of the introduction paragraph is very important. What the bridge does is it starts to guide the reader from your attention-grabbing introductory statement to your thesis, right? So the bridge is a tool more than it is a creative exercise. So it takes a lot of critical thinking to get from a creative, attention grabbing, engaging introductory statement down to a thesis statement. The thesis statement is a hard, concrete thing that you're going to need to prove, whereas an introductory statement is something that's really meant just to draw you in. So the meat in between needs a little bit of structure and form. So of course you can write this the way that you see fit, but there are a couple of tools that you should use when you're trying to craft that bridge between the introductory statement and the thesis. The bridge that you should work toward, or the easiest one, is called a discussion. The discussion offers pros and cons about your topic. So after you go into your anecdotal introductory statement and you tell a story about maybe how you got involved in your research topic, then you want to then guide the reader into maybe what people think about perhaps your point of view in your narrative, or maybe if someone sided with the antagonist, maybe you're the protagonist and maybe your parents are the antagonists in your introductory statement. You want to start guiding your reader into various points of view. This is going to be people who agree with you and people who disagree with you. If you're writing a historical or factual data based introductory statement, again, you're going to start with the history of where your topic is, and then you're going to move again into some sort of context that can take you into a discussion. So maybe if you're talking about the onset of the first Planned Parenthood. I have a student right now who's writing a paper about uh, women's choice of contraception or contraceptives. And so she is using Planned Parenthood. So she started with the first day when Planned Parenthood opened. So now she's going to have to move from the first day that Planned Parenthood opened and maybe the reason for Planned Parenthood opening, and then move into a discussion maybe about people who agree with Planned Parenthood and people who don't, the pros of it and maybe the cons of it. So that's going to be her job to kind of push through both ideas, because remember, she's still trying to guide me into a nice thesis that's going to bring all of this discussion into some sort of head or some sort of form. If you're using the rhetorical question, then again, you're going to have to set up context. You're going to have to come out of that rhetorical question, and then you're going to have to start maybe coming up with certain answers to your rhetorical question, and then move from there into a discussion about maybe how those answers impact different people, maybe how it impacts group A, and then maybe how it impacts group B, and then you kind of push back and forth between these ideas. You usually need at least three varying points of view in order to have a discussion, right? People don't generally discuss one thing and then they move into the main idea. Generally, people kind of go back and forth between thoughts. And so that's what you're going to want to do when you're building a bridge to get to your research question, which is going to be the thesis of your paper. The other thing you're going to want to include in your research proposal introduction paragraph is going to be your reason for research. Generally, your audience, your professor is going to want to know, why do you want to research this topic? And so, for instance, in my class, my students have to write based upon their My Plan assessment. They have to go through this process of looking up their aptitude for careers, their aptitudes for the ways they learn, aptitudes for their emotional well-being and how they relate to others. This aptitude test also gives information about, skills and jobs that they may be interested in. And so for my class, the reason for research needs to be attached to something that they learned about themselves during this My Plan assessment. That's not true for all classes. When you write a research proposal, generally your professor is not going to ask you to do an aptitude test first in order to draw a connection between ideas. That's unique to just my students. But when you're writing, generally for a research proposal, and this is even when I was writing for the doctoral level, professor for research proposal for his class, I had to give my reason for research. Why did I find this topic engaging? So you want to make sure that you offer that because it personalizes your research. The way that you close this paragraph is by offering a research question usually. Usually this question is open-ended, right? So it's a how or a why question. Don't forget the illustration I gave in the previous video about the wall. Sometimes we want to know why a wall is there, and we have to open our minds to try to imagine all the reasons that a wall was built, like the wall behind me, why they put it there as opposed to my right. Or how was the wall built? So again, we have to think about the process by which the wall was built. So that again opens our mind and it makes us think. But if someone were to ask, what is that? And someone said a wall, that's not a very engaging idea. So asking what for a research question is not necessarily the best idea. Asking a question that can be answered with yes or no, like, have you seen a wall before? Or have you ever run into a wall before? Yes to one and no for the other. But again, it doesn't make me think about very much because I've already drawn a conclusion. So you want to ask an open-ended research question whenever you're writing an introduction paragraph and when you're setting up your audience for the rest of what your research proposal is going to be about. I hope this video has been informative. I'll see you in the next video. We're going to talk about the body of the research proposal essay. See ya.